In today's lesson, you're going to learn all about editing your writing. What do you think editing means, and why do you think it's important? It's important to edit our work so we can see what's already great, check for any mistakes, improve what we've already done, and know that we've always done our best work. To edit your work easily, you just need to remember the 6-point check. And remember, read each word slowly and carefully and only edit 1 point at a time as you go. Point 1. Check that my writing makes sense. To check your writing makes sense, you might need to add in extra words, take out ones that shouldn't be there, or add letters to words to make them work. Remember, when you're checking for sense, don't check for any of the other points. Let's have a read through. With big push, Pegasus goes up from the earth and flies up above cloud. Hercules sees tall mountains. He felt anxious. He has never been into the forest before. Where could he start? Can you spot 2 words that need adding and 1 word that needs a letter adding to it to make it make sense? Did you spot them? Let's read it again to check. With a big push, Pegasus goes up from the earth and flies up above the clouds. Hercules sees tall mountains. He felt anxious. He has never been into the forest before. Where would he start? Now it's your turn. Check your piece of writing for making sense. Do you need to add any extra words? Do you need to take any out that don't fit? Are there any words that you need to add letters to so that they make better sense? By now, you should have checked your writing for point 1, making sense. Point 2 is check for the use of correct tense. Because this piece of writing is a narrative, we know it needs to be in the past tense. Now it's your turn to see if you can edit this piece of work to change it into the correct tense. I'll show you how it's done. Read along carefully using your finger to point as you go. When you find a word that's in the wrong tense, cross it out, and above, write what the word should be. I've written goes. I should have written went. Stop the video and see whether you can find 3 other verbs that need to be changed into the past tense. Did you spot them? Well done if you did. It means you're doing some really good editing. Now it's time to edit your work for tense. Decide what tense your work needs to be in by looking at the kind of writing it is. If it's a narrative, it probably needs to be in the past tense. Edit your work in the same way by reading each word carefully. When you get to the verbs, decide if they're in the correct tense. If they need editing, cross them out and write the correct word above it. Pause the video while you look at your work. Now we've checked for sense and tense, it's time to check for punctuation. For this piece of writing, and most, you'll probably need to check for the most common punctuation. Full stop, capital letter, question mark, exclamation mark, and commas. Your commas might be to separate clauses or for a list. In other pieces of writing, you may need to check speech marks, apostrophes, brackets, dashes, colons, and semicolons. Make sure you read your work properly to make sure you have all of the correct punctuation. Now it's time to check for the correct punctuation. As you read through this piece, can you spot 3 missing capital letters, 1 missing full stop, 1 missing question mark, and 1 missing comma, which should be separating an opening clause? Have a go while you pause the video. Did you spot them? If you did, that's great. It means your editing is getting even better. Now it's time to edit your own work for punctuation. In the same way, read your writing carefully, looking out for those missing bits of punctuation that you need to include. For point 4, you need to check for connectives. This may mean adding connectives in or improving ones that are already there. Have a look at your connectives display and your writer's toolkit to help you think of good connectives to use. In this writing, there is a place where I could swap a not so good connective for a much better one. Also, there's somewhere where I've used a full stop that I could use a good connective. Can you spot both questions? Did you find them? Or maybe you thought of different or better ones. As long as your writing makes sense and the connectives work, you've done a good job. Now check your own writing for connectives by changing ones that are already there, adding some in, or swapping full stops for connectives instead. Remember to use your connectives display and writer's toolkit to help you. Pause the video while you check through your work. Point 5 of the 6-point check is checking for good openers. When you edit this piece of writing for openers, you will see that there is one good opener with a big push. That makes your writing more interesting by telling you how Pegasus went up from the earth. However, there are 2 openers that are more boring, for example, Hercules and he. I'm going to keep this one the same because it's a question, so it needs to start with this word. But I will try and add a different opener there and there. I've chosen an ing and a where opener to make my writing more interesting. Can you have a guess at what they are? Pause the video while you try and work it out. Did you spot them? Here's the first one. All around him is a where opener that tells you where Hercules can see the tall mountains. The next one, looking over at the view, tells you what he's doing. It's an ing opener and makes that sentence much more interesting than just starting with he. How do your sentence openers compare? What kind have you used? Now it's time to edit your work for openers. Have a look at your openers display and decide the best kind of openers that you can use. Read through your work, find any openers that could be improved, and then make sure that you use an appropriate one. Also, think about your punctuation. Do you need to include a comma at the end of the opener that you use? The 6th and final point of editing is the one where you can be most creative, checking and improving your vocabulary. This is where you can get out thesauruses, you can get your writer's toolkit, and have a look around your classroom to use the most creative words that you can. These might include adjectives, interesting verbs, similes, metaphors, or any other way of adding detail to your writing. For my writing, I've decided I could change 2 adjectives and I could change 2 verbs to make them much more powerful. I've also decided I could add 2 adjectives in and add a simile in to help describe something. Can you spot where they are? Pause the video and have a go. The 2 adjectives that I changed were big and tall, which I changed to mighty with a mighty push and vast. Hercules saw vast mountains. The verbs I changed were went and flew. I changed these to rose. Pegasus rose up from the earth, and soared before he soared above the soft white clouds. The adjectives that I added in were soft, white, and mysterious. The simile that I added was here to describe the mountains. Hercules saw vast mountains reaching to the sky like jagged limbs. How does your editing compare? Now it's time to edit your work for vocabulary. Remember to look for improving and adding in adjectives, verbs, similes, metaphors, and any other vocabulary that would improve your work. Well done! You've now successfully completed the 6-point check of editing. Just remember, next time you need to edit, follow these 6 easy steps: sense, tense, punctuation, connectives, openers, vocabulary. I know that that's a lot to remember, so we've created this silly saying to help you remember the order of the 6-point check. Some troublesome pigs can open vaults. Sense, tense, punctuation, connectives, openers, vocabulary. However, we know that that little saying isn't the best one that you could come up with. Your homework this week is to think of a better saying to remember the 6-point check by using the 6 first letters of the words in the correct order. The person who thinks of the best and most creative, memorable saying will have theirs displayed in their classroom and used throughout the year. Good luck!